Hi, my name is Terry and my pronouns are she, her.
And I'm Matt, pronouns are he, him, and we're part of the Angus Youth Media team.
We're here with Marcus, Holly and Hamish, who are the members of Scottish Youth Parliament for Angus. Do you guys want to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Terry. Hi, everyone. My name is Marcus Fluker. I use he, him pronouns and I represent the constituency of Angus South in the Scottish Youth Parliament.
Hi, I'm Holly McIntosh. My pronouns are she, her, and I am also one of the MYSPs for Angus South.
Hi, I'm Hamish. My pronouns are he, him, and I represent the Angus North and Mearns constituency.
Perfect. Can you explain what an MSYP is for anyone who doesn't really know?
Yeah, so essentially, an MSYP is similar to your MSP, so you're a member of the Scottish Parliament. We have very similar powers to your MSP, but we can't make or change the law. That's the only thing we can't do. We represent everyone aged between 12 and 25 in Scotland, and our constituencies, that's the areas that we kind of our responsibility, are the same as the Scottish Parliament. So whoever your MSP is, in the case of Angus South, that's Graham Day, you'll have an MSYP, or rather you have two MSYPs who also look after that same area. And we also have, is it 11 national volunteer organisations that we have?
Yeah, 11,
we have 11 national volunteer organisations, which are like charities or like organisations which elect two members as well. So we have everyone from LGBT Scotland to Girl Guiding Scotland who have two MSYPs.
We're here today to talk about the Safer Travel Angus campaign. Can you explain what the campaign is?
Yeah, so this campaign started by us basically, and about hearing people's thoughts on like the transport and hearing all their stories about how they feel that transport just isn't what they need and isn't for them, and that they feel unsafe as well. The word unsafe was used, and that really hit hard. And our campaign is basically an information guide and like help resources about getting people back onto transport and getting them from A to B safely.
It's particularly sort of relevant, I think, at the moment because we've just come out of the COVID pandemic, and so there will be a group of sort of young people that aren't as used to getting on public transport as perhaps we were, perhaps people slightly younger than us, and people just sort of want to get sort of back moving on public transport, which is great. We just need to make sure that they feel safe and they know what to do when they're doing it.
Yeah, and I think the idea came about so back at the end of last year. We ran a survey which we dubbed the Angus Young Bus Passenger Survey, and essentially what we did was we used that to gather evidence on a range of different things about buses in Angus, so whether that was reliability or cleanliness. And one of the questions we put in there was about safety, and we asked people to agree or disagree with various statements. And the statement we asked was, I feel confident in knowing what to do if I feel unsafe on a bus. And we threw that question in there, admittedly because we didn't really know what else to put in. But what we got back from that was 45% of people who responded to that survey said that they either strongly disagreed or disagreed with that statement. That's something we weren't expecting. And so when we actually sat down and thought about it, was because we weren't sure why this has come about, we felt that this was something we needed to work on. And kind of develop more, because there really seemed to be a lack of understanding.
Why were you all interested in getting involved with the campaign initially?
So I think it was an element of kind of just what I was talking about there, was that question about like, well, what have we uncovered here? And I think when we looked into it more, we found that the information that we kind of needed to answer that question around what should you do if you feel unsafe on a bus wasn't really available, and that really matched what young people were saying. Yeah,
I think definitely it's an area that I think, well, we obviously uncovered that it was quite important, but there's just nothing. There seems to be basically nothing relevant to Scotland on this issue. And we're slightly concerned by that, and that's how we sort of decided to make this sort of a focal point of our campaign, because other things did come up in the survey, but there were sort of like things that we would expect about delays on buses and so on. We were just really surprised at this, and then we were even more surprised that there was no information on safety on buses, or very little sort of relevant information.
And I think in contrast to what you've got for trains was huge. So on your train, like we found that there's this app called, I think it's Rail Guardian that it's called.
It's Rail Guardian, yeah.
And you've got like really detailed advice on different situations, how to contact the British Transport Police and all that. And that information didn't really exist. And I think one of the things that Holly, I'm sure will know more about than that is that Transport Scotland at the same time have done research into the safety of women and girls on public transport, and there were some really interesting similarities between that.
I think like Transport Scotland even recognise that there's problems with the buses, and they have tried to put in recommendations to things that they are going to do, but we need more support out there, and we need things like even those recommendations to be just out to everybody, especially those that are younger. And I think just hearing the stories of people saying, and I can't even sit up the stairs on the bus, and that could be from fully grown women, is terrifying. And, just to actually be involved with things like this and to actually make a difference to even something that would help us is such a good thing.
And having those conversations.
Yeah, it's needed.
What do you hope will change as a result of this campaign, ideally?
I think just being able to get on the bus and actually feeling that you can get from A to B safely and without having to feel like you need to scan around and have that worry of, I can't get up the stairs on this bus because anything could happen. I can't get on this train in case something happens. I can't get on transport at night and things like that. People should just be able to go from one place to another and just feel okay about it, like you would do in a car or something. It shouldn't be different.
So I feel that sort of part of it has got to be about so definitely making people feel safer. That's really fundamental. But I do hope that there's a chance that we would get sort of other people on buses to change their behaviour. That one of the things we found was that particularly young women and girls, there was sort of behaviour on buses that were making them sort of feel like nervous or uncomfortable that other passengers were doing, but they probably weren't aware of. So just sort of sitting next to them on a bus where there's loads of seats, it's just sort of small things that like people can change to make travel sort of feel safer for everyone. Yeah,
and I think like it's that small stuff, like someone staring at you, that can actually be more uncomfortable than like someone having a fight or something like that. I think it's like it is those really small things, but being more mindful to your fellow passengers. And I think we recognise that that's a two-way street. We recognise that young people have got a part to play in that as well. But I think the biggest thing that we had to come through in that survey is the lack of information. So for me, the biggest thing that I want to change is about putting information out there, because knowledge is power, essentially.
What's something you'd like people to take away from listening today?
I think that it's okay to speak out, and that we are here to listen as MSYPs and as just people, and that this campaign isn't to say you must follow all of these rules. They're guidance, and even if there's something that isn't there, tell us and we'll love to help you as well.
I think it's about, I talked about that two-way street. It's about taking steps to make you feel safer, and like Holly was saying, like you don't have to follow all these rules. It's guidance, but the small stuff like what we've talked about as part of this campaign, making sure that you've got someone at the other end, someone waiting at home for you. You've texted to say I'll be home at this time or whatever, or someone's going to meet you at the bus stop, or or even just having access to that information and making use of it. I think all of that's really important. But it's hard to say what the impact will be until we've seen some of it in action, and just like what I was saying, is we're still listening. Like this campaign will develop. It won't end at a certain point. So I think if there are stuff that like people kind of identify as later on in the processes, we want to hear that too.
Yeah, I absolutely agree there. This is just the start. I want sort of people to take away that what we have now is hopefully sort of guidance that is sort of relevant and useful. But this is really just the beginning. Our emails are always open if there's anything else that you think we're missing, and we really hope this campaign will grow bigger, grow beyond Angus as well, certainly.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's all the questions we have for you today. Thank you for joining us.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.